Welcome back to Basement Dweller Tabletop. Today we're going to cover the movement phase. This is the third part of our series where we're covering all the rules for 11th edition. And feel free to go back and check my other videos out. All right, so movement. Every squad has an M characteristic. That is the number of inches that they move in a normal move. What do we mean by a normal move? That's everything that's not any other kind of move, really. So, for example, if I wanted to move, let me find somebody who can move. All right, who's going to move? Who's going to move? Here we go. We've got my killicans here. They are going to trundle forward. They move 6 inches, I believe. I haven't looked at my data sheets in a while. So we're going to sneak this in here. We can get to the movement. We're going to start from the front edge of their base, and the front edge of their base is going to end up 6 inches or less behind the edge of the, 6 inches or less from their starting position. So technical. Watch out for the box there. Need better lighting this morning. Forgot to turn my lights on. So he's going right to that wrinkle. Get him up there. He's already taken a wound, so we want his wound counter to stay with him. You know what? I'm swapping that out for a proper wound counter. I found my wound counters the other day. Where's my one? Oh, it's the skull. These are some old Kill Team dice, so the skull is the one. All right, we do the same thing with his buddy. These guys are going to try and move up. They're leaving cover. And this guy's just going to tuck in behind. Good etiquette, you should measure each one as you're moving them. But if you know that they're not moving as far as the guy in front of them, and the guy in front of them has moved their standard movement, you're all good. All right, so that is my killicans. That's their movement. That's normal movement. So the next kind of movement is advanced movement. So this is, I want to get across the battlefield rapidly. I want to make some progress, get going. So when you do advanced movement, fling the camera around here on you. So you're going to take a d6, you roll a die. You're going to add that to, oh, wow, nice. They go 5 extra inches. So advanced movement is very random. It can be 1, it can be 2, it can be 6. It's not reliable. So let me get my tape measure going here. Let's look at these squig hog boys for a second. So they're going to be able to move 15 inches. That's fantastic. I left them out of position. I didn't move them enough in the first turn. So they're going to go up here. All right, so movement, we're going to talk about pivots a little bit. So this guy, he's got a big base. He can't just go straight here because he's going to collide with this piece of terrain. So he can do one of two things. He can either pivot, which means he can turn a little bit and he can head this way, or he could go here and then up 2.5 inches and then down 2.5 inches. He kind of goes up and over because he's a monster. He's a cavalry, and monsters can have to go up and over dense terrain. I think cavalry does. So what we're going to do with him, since I don't know that real super well, we're just going to pivot him, and he's going to move 15. He's going to go straight. He's going to go right to the edge there, and then pivot back that way. It does put him in line of sight if the Imperial Guard moves some stuff around, but then his boys are all going to follow in behind. Same thing, 15 inches. That's pretty big advanced move. That's awesome. These guys are trucking across the battlefield. So that is advanced movement. Very simple concept. Not a lot of difficulty there. All right, fallback moves. So I don't have anybody who's going to fall back in the orc army this turn. But over here, I might want to fall back my Imperial Guardsmen during their turn. They're all mixed in. But what they would do is they can do effectively a normal movement. They're not trapped. They're not battle shocked. So they can fall back in good order. So they can move back up to their movement distance. So they can run away 6 inches. 6 is a pretty common distance. Some of the heavier, slower troops move only 5. And then some of your bigger, like your cavalry, these guys move really fast. I think they're 10. Hope they're 10. Hope they're not cheating. So they would fall back. They'd be disengaged from the enemy, which is not a technical term in the game, but they would drop back out of the way so other units could shoot into this combat. So I'm not going to move them, but that's the idea of fallback move. If they are battle shocked, or if they can't pull back clearly without passing through enemy models, they have to take a hazardous test as part of that fallback. That's the disordered fallback. It's called disordered in the new edition. And to do fallback, yeah, ordered or desperate escape. It is desperate escape. Yeah, so either an ordered fallback or desperate escape. Those are the two kinds of fallback move. And you would do that in the movement phase. Movement phase. We're still in the movement phase. All this stuff is movement phase. There is some movement that happens outside the movement phase, but I'll talk about those at the very tail end very quickly. All right, disembarks. Ooh, this is what I want to do. All right, so talking about that pivot movement, we'll cover another normal move. I want my battle wagon to move up. He's got a move of 10. He's really speedy, but I want him to go about 4 inches forward. He has to go straight. And then he is going to pivot on his central axis that way. It doesn't cost any movement. And then he's going to move the rest of his 6 forward. He's going to go way up here. Oop, trying not to take out the terrain as you go. All right, so he's going to be way up there. So now he's moved, and I'm going to do a disembark. So he's got a bunch of ludas inside of him. Grab these guys. So my ludas are ready to drop out and cause mayhem. A normal disembark is, again, lots of types of disembarks. You've got rapid, tactical, and combat. So some of them are only triggered under certain conditions, and we'll talk about a little bit about those conditions. I'll try and show you an example of those conditions by moving some guys around here. So these guys are out in the open. They've done a movement. So a rapid disembark is what you do if they have moved. And then tactical disembark is if they didn't move. So after tactical, you can do a normal movement. But with a normal disembark, with a rapid disembark, this tank moved, so these guys cannot move after they get out. They can't charge after they get out. They're basically going to jump out here and blast away. Probably not the best tactical move because they are shooting line. Are considered to have moved, so they don't have their bonuses. I think these guys have got heavy on their guns. So these guys are just plowing out. And you're noticing that there's no rhyme or reason where these guys are coming out on the, I'll get my mechs over here. So I've got doors and platforms and doors, but these guys all came out of the front of the tank. So it's a little abstract. Oh, I'm with my bomb squig. I forgot to move my bomb squig. So it's a little abstract in 40K. They don't restrict you to entry and exit points. Older editions they did, but in this edition and the last edition, you just jump out any direction as long as it was within 3 inches of that transport. So if they hadn't moved, if I had disembarked them here, they could have done their normal movement after they had disembarked, but now they're stuck. There is another type of move called the combat disembark. All these technical terms. Combat disembark is I am in danger. So for instance, if these Ogrins, maybe not Ogrins is best, but maybe a squad of guardsmen was completely surrounding this tank, or mostly surrounding this tank, and there was no way to get my guys out without touching the other infantry, the other unit that was surrounding, the enemy unit that was surrounding them, you would do a combat disembark. With the combat disembark, rather than 3 inches, you get out up to 6 inches. So you can kind of jump over the squad that is surrounding you and get over in a nearby ruin or just on the opposite side, somewhere that you can get out of your vehicle and not be trapped in your vehicle. But if you do that, you have to take a hazard test. And that hazard test is a D6. I mentioned hazard test earlier. Hazard test is D6 on a 1 and a 2. So say my ludas were jumping out in a combat disembark, I'd have to roll 1d6 for each guy in the squad. So I'd have to take 10 dice. And then for every 1 or 2, there's a 1, 6 is 5, there's a 2, there's a 2. So I'd have had 4 guys get blown off the board by tripping and falling over enemy units as they tried to disembark. But luckily, these guys have got a clear place to disembark. They jump out. There's one other type of disembark, and that is a emergency disembark. And that only happens if the vehicle they're in is destroyed. So if that vehicle were destroyed, and that doesn't happen in my movement phase, so that's an out of phase. I won't go into too much detail. We'll talk about it during the shooting and the combat episodes of this series. Episodes, yeah, I like that. They're going to be episodes. All right. So there's a lot of strats that you can use during the movement phase, such as command reroll for your advance move. If I had rolled a 1 on my advance move, I could choose to spend a command point and re-roll that guy. I can only do that once per turn for anything, so that's the roll that I would be re-rolling on my turn. All right. See who else is moving. We got lots more movement. I won't bore you with the basics moves. Moving is one of the most important parts of 40K. Ooh, so we'll do another type of move called a reposition. So we're deep into the game. We're second or third turn into the game. So there's no rules against ingressing. Wow, I used that funky term, a rapid ingress. Let me start with a rapid ingress rather than a reposition. So ingress moves are special moves where you take units that are in reserve, and I have 2 units in reserve for this battle. I've got some Defcoptas and some Blood Axe, Flyboys. What the heck are they called? Oh my god, it's too early in the morning for me. So I'm going to rapid ingress one of these squads. I need to take out some of these Imperial Guard tanks. So I'm going to rapid ingress one of my 2 Defcopta squads, and I will drop them onto the board at least 9 inches away from any enemy units. And I want to kind of get them over here in the center. So I want to drop them in. There's my 9 inches. 9 inches. So they can kind of get in here. So they're going to drop in there. I want to give them line of sight on that tank. So they have dropped in. Make sure they're 9 inches from these ogrins over here. Yeah, ingress is very, very tricky because you have to make sure you're 9 inches from every other enemy unit. You can't be too close. So they got to be away from these guys, got to be away from those guys, got to be away from those guys. So it's this big, every squad has got like a big circle over top of it. And these guys are dropped in right there. So that is rapid ingress. There's another kind of another type of move called scout move. That's a pre-game move. We covered that in the setup episode. And then repositions are if you're taking a squad up off the board and moving it somewhere else. So for example, these orcs are led by a pain boy and a weird boy. The weird boy has got a special power called the jump. You roll a d6. If it's anything but a 1, these guys can up and drop somewhere else on the battlefield. Same thing, they use that ingress rule. They follow the same rules for the ingress rule. Oh my gosh, I just did it again. I'm using some 10th edition rules. This ingress is now 8 inches away from enemy units, so they can be a little bit closer. I don't think I want them any closer because they're a shooting unit with some backup hand-to-hand, but they can be 8 inches away because of the new engagement range rules, and we'll cover that in more detail in the fight phase episode. All right, I think that's all the basic types of movement. Hope you guys have learned a little bit. I've kind of jumped around too much, but you got normal movement, advanced movement, fallback movement, disembark movement, and ingress movement are the primary types of moves that you can make during your movement phase. You can modify them with strats, strategy cards, strategy events, or stratagems, or you can use special abilities on different units. We didn't cover any of that because I don't think any of these armies have those special abilities, but we'll talk about that later. All right, hope you guys enjoyed this, and we'll talk to you later.